go overlanding, and you too can take 22.5 hours to drive 8 hours. Well, that's it. We have just conquered the t.w.a.t.
The Trans-Wisconsin Adventure Trail. It runs roughly 630 miles from the far south end all the way up to Lake Superior, and it takes you through some amazing backcountry. Now, it starts way down here at the southern end of Wisconsin, just north of Galena, Illinois. However, we skipped the first few miles and hopped on right here at Dickeyville, and our story begins right here along the banks of the mighty Mississippi. So this route was originally created by and for dual sport motorcycle riders, but somewhere along the way the overlanders liked following this route, but some of the routes were ATV only type trails, so the route was modified, and you can find GPX files online for the overland version, which I downloaded and imported it into my Onyx. Now, somebody added the Trans-Wisconsin Adventure Trail to Onyx, but it does not follow the same route that this GPX file does, and that's why I wanted both versions. One of the things that I did not know about this route was it actually jumps back into Iowa right here near Prairie du Chien, Wisconsin. And it follows the Iowa side all the way up here to Lansing, Iowa, and then crosses back into Wisconsin. And this area is absolutely beautiful. You can stop and check out the Effigy Mountains National Monuments, Yellow River State Forest, and this drive up the river through the driftless area is incredible. But as you're gonna see here shortly, there's a problem with this bridge heading back into Wisconsin, and as of editing this video, they have imploded this bridge, so you're going to have to either backtrack down here to get back into Wisconsin, or drive about another half an hour or so north to La Crosse, Wisconsin, and then you can choose whether to backtrack to catch the route, or catch it here in Sparta, which is what we did. Or you could just stay on the Wisconsin side, but I don't know, you'd be missing out on a lot by doing that. My curiosity got the best of me, so I looked it up, and it does appear they have opened a ferry to get you back across here, so you can check out this website for details. We don't live very far from the trailhead, about an hour and a half, but we got such a late start. We knew we weren't going to be out there very long, and we were immediately going to be needing to keep an eye out for somewhere to stay.
Two days ago, it was 92 degrees, and it's like in the 50s right now. It's going to be a chilly night camping.
We found ourselves in the Yellow River State Forest, and it was getting to be evening, and we were starting to keep our eyes peeled for camp, but I don't think you can disperse camp here, so we ended up finding a couple little state campgrounds and picking one of those to stop at. But first, we found another unexpected thing.
Who would have thought there was one in Iowa? They took out the last set of stairs, so even if you tried to get in there, you can't get up to it. Why do they close these down? I want to go up there so bad. Somebody has cut a hole. I feel like that would be a hard shimmy up the support beams to get to that deck. In another life, maybe. Like 20 years ago.
Eventually we found our way to the little paint campground at the Yellow River State Forest, and it was nothing special, kind of a primitive site with some vault restrooms and stuff like that. We just didn't have time to drive far enough to get to anywhere with dispersed camping, so this is gonna have to do for the night.
This thing's gonna need charged before too long too.
Today I'm gonna just be randomly dropping some timestamps so you can see about what time we left and how far we get today, because we ended up taking 2 full days to do this route plus the 2 hours or whatever you just watched on the first day. So I would recommend 3 days to do this route plus a day to drive home depending on where you live, but that's up to you. If you peek out the windshield, you can see that bridge that I was talking about.
That bridge closed at midnight last night. So we gotta go like miles and miles and miles north or back south to get across into Wisconsin. I think what we're gonna do is just cut across, catch it back here and go, and then on the way home we'll come through and do this section. This whole bit we're gonna have to skip right now, but what are you gonna do? Nothing to do with you. The colors out here are making me, it's putting off fall vibes, even though it's, what, the weekend before Memorial Day. Some neat oranges and yellows and stuff.
Once you get about a half an hour north of Sparta, Wisconsin, you start getting into the forest. After you cross I-94, there's the Jackson County Forest Land and the Black River State Forest. I thought this was another piece of mud that got on my camera, but take a closer look. All along this route, there are so many places and things you can stop and see and do, but on this particular day, being kind of the middle day, I was trying to just eat up the miles, so we didn't make very many stops today. In fact, on the whole trip, we didn't have too much time to stop and check stuff out because, well, I'll tell that story later.
There's places like this where the Onyx route and then the GPX route, which is the light blue one, they kind of split and then meet back up. And on some of them we've taken the one and some we've taken the other, and some of them have signage that just says ATV, snowmobile, no other motor vehicles allowed. And so on those ones, we're not going that way just because I don't need no trouble. I don't know if that was the way the original dual sport route. I guess there's two different versions of this route, but either way, something to watch for is that you might end up on some sections of trail that you're not supposed to be on.
If you look up information about this route, it will tell you that it's about 50% pavement, 40% gravel, 10% dirt. I would say that's pretty close to on par. But what I can tell you is that the north half of this route, there's probably more dirt and gravel than pavement, and then the south half of the route is almost exclusively pavement with just the occasional dirt road. Even if you're following a map, you're bound to have a couple of times where you blow right past your turn and have to pull a U-ey, which gets a little interesting with the trailer. That's why I took this wide turn.
We've gotten far enough north that the mosquitoes are getting ridiculous. We opened the door for like 2 seconds and like 5 of them got in.
Look at all these freaking mosquitoes, man. They're attracted to the Bronco right now.
Might be an interesting camp tonight. There was no bugs last night. It says there's a lookout tower here. I don't see it yet. Wanted to come up here to see if this would be a decent spot to camp. Nothing like finding another fire tower. Looks like we got an old outhouse. This is just like the one we found in Crandon where there's a ladder, but then there's this thing that would make it really awkward to climb. I don't know if I want to know what's in here. It's an old power box. Maybe it used to be a crapper, I don't know. I'm really starting to love finding these towers. This one has electricity even. There's a power line. Trying to find a campsite, and this thing had a waypoint that said covert camp, and then there's just this big old clearing here, and everything's been so overgrown. I think we're going to check it out and see if we can find like a fire ring or something over here. There's like 20 intersecting trails here, and I couldn't find anything resembling an actual campsite except for right here. There is well, I thought this was a fire ring, but it looks like it's just
a fire pile.
A trash pile.
Rocks around it.
Freaking slobs. I'll tell you what. Hey, we got some firewood though. I don't love it, but everything has been so overgrown. There has been 0 pullouts, and it's getting to be almost 8 o'clock. What do you think? Go for it?
I'm not going to find anything else. Once we go down the street to the campgrounds.
So in our first full day on this route, you can see here in the yellow, we ended up making it about 237 miles, and we were out there for about 9.5 hours with a couple of stops in there, including lunch and gas and stuff. So not too bad. This ended up being a pretty quiet and nice campsite. We did have a few other vehicles pass through and kind of stare us down a little bit, but they continued on their way, and I really ended up enjoying this place. So even though we were right off the side of the trail, this ended up being quite a nice spot. And after we got all set up, had a nice dinner, we spent most of the evening just sitting around the fire and just taking in these amazing views from the night sky out there with no light pollution. Everything just looked really cool. I'll show you guys a few of the photos I took that night. Now, I'm no fancy photographer. These were all off of just a long exposure on my cell phone, but I thought they turned out pretty cool.
Well, we didn't end up using this fire ring last night. We used the one up here. But this one is just trash, so I'm gonna take and pick up whatever I can fit into this bag that I've already got started, because this is just ridiculous. You know, this is like half beer and half pop cans, which means these people were probably teaching their kids this is okay too. Find some way to throw this away too.
So this next section between where we camped and the next main road that we would get to was mostly 1 lane wide, and it was a lot wetter than a lot of the other areas, so there's definitely a few mud holes and little water holes we had to go to. Luckily it hadn't been raining, so who knows, maybe they could be a lot worse, but we didn't have any problem navigating them.
Boy, that's awful murky. So far it's alright.
So I did get out and try to check the depth with a stick, but I couldn't reach out to the middle, so I opted for the next, well, I guess the next safest thing would be to turn around, but what I like to do is just inch my way in real slow and just get a feel for the bottom. If it's a muddy bottom, you can usually feel it right away versus being like a hard packed bottom, and that's mostly how this one was. Maybe a little sandy, but pretty firm otherwise.
Not having a winch and being alone and having a trailer makes this kind of, yeah.
So to be clear, I have a couple of purpose-built off-road Jeeps, but this Bronco is my girlfriend's daily driver, and she has forbid me from doing any real off-roading in it. This right here is about the limit of what she will allow, and I just haven't gotten around to putting a winch on it yet.
So far it feels like a solid bottom.
If you're not sure, just turn around and don't chance it unless you got a way to get out, but you may be tempted to just ride the side on water holes like this, and I do not recommend that because sometimes the middle is really deep and the sides are not, and you can get yourself real tippy and in a worse pickle by trying to hug the side or keep one set of tires up on solid ground. Just don't do that. If you don't think you can go through the middle, then just don't go through it at all.
All the ATVs have created a workaround, but we just gotta go for it. Not feel too bad.
Another thing I'd like to point out is that bringing a trailer off-road, it just adds a couple of levels of difficulty to really anything, because it can act like a boat anchor, but it can also get you into trouble in a lot of ways that not having a trailer wouldn't. And if you're not prepared to handle those things, I actually wouldn't recommend it till you're fairly well experienced off-roading just with your vehicle. I've been doing it for 15 plus years, so I'm willing to accept the problems that may come along with it, but not everybody is ready for some of the pickles you can get yourself in, like not being able to turn around on the trail. Now that we made it out of that section of the National Forest, I'm going to fast forward about 45 minutes down the trail to this place called the Georgetown OHV Trail. It's in a section of forest called the Price County Forest Land, but this is what happened when we got there.
I love it when you're following these existing routes that people have made and then you run into shit like this. No trucks beyond this point. Locked gate. It's too thin to get through. Maybe I could get through this one. Am I going to get in trouble? And there is no workaround on this one. There's no side trails or other options. It's like turn around and go back 20 miles. And then they even put in this to make the bridge narrower.
Now maybe I'm overreacting a little bit, but I looked it up and it says it's ATVs, UTVs, and motorcycles only up to 65-inch width, so I steered clear of going in there.
Somebody brought a torch out. Yeah, because they had it sticking out to keep this narrow, to keep vehicles out. I bet you all the Jeeps and everything are just coming through here.
Go, baby, go. Young thing didn't know what to do.
Oh, I found a workaround. So we probably only wasted 20-30 minutes on that whole thing. Probably 20 different times now I've been forced on ATV only trails that say no Jeeps, no motor vehicles. That was just the first one that had a gate basically stopping me from getting through.
This was the little workaround I made for that in case you were curious.
You didn't have to go hunting for that one. Of course, they got it gated off.
So we spent the next hour or so heading north until we hit the next section of Chequamegon National Forest, this big area right here, and we skipped out on a lot of opportunities to do a lot of exploring because we just stayed on the route. We're at least 3/4, if not more, of the way to the end of this trail.
Looks like people have been driving over it, but I'm just gonna cut it.
A chainsaw is just such an invaluable thing to bring, and it doesn't have to be a super fancy one. I just have this DeWalt one because I have all DeWalt tools, so it made sense. I have the batteries already. Yeah, a gas one would probably be better, but I'm not out here lumberjacking. I'm just trying to clear the trail when I have to.
That wasn't too bad. Seems like we've been going downhill a lot, losing a lot of elevation since we left Clam Lake. I got wood. I thought we'd get farther than we got yesterday, so it's been this concern of making it to the end today because tomorrow we don't have time to explore. We have to turn around and go home. I just looked and we're about 65-ish miles from the end, and it's 4:23. So as long as we can average 20 miles an hour, we should be able to be there by 7 and still set up in the light. The high up here on the lake today was 42 degrees, and the low tonight's going to be well down into the 30s with 25 mile an hour winds and up to 45 mile an hour gusts coming from the north off of the lake. So it is going to be cold, and I have a damn stick in my way. It's going to be cold. If that wind's coming off the lake, that's going to suck. I don't know if you guys have ever been to the Great Lakes, but when that wind's coming off of them and it's not summer yet, it does not feel good. So needless to say, we might get there, see the lake, and then turn around and come back inland a little bit to get out of that lake wind. Oh, the trailer just bounced like 2 feet in the air. I gotta see if anything fell out of it. That was bad. I looked in the mirror and that just bunny hopped. Oh yeah, the board kicked out again. Chainsaw's still there though. We're good.
In case you were wondering, the irony between the trail we're on and Amber's air freshener is not lost on me.
Well, the course has quite the deviation up here. I think we're gonna take the one that looks faster and more direct, but as of right now, we just peeled off of the course because I saw that. And that would be like the 5th fire tower that we found on the trip. Might be like the old way to get to it. Well, looks like this one's a bust. It's just gonna be a tower site. There's no tower there. Now I'm just gonna turn this wagon around. Hey, look, turnaround spot. These little short trailers are hard to not jackknife when you get angled this far.
You want more?
Doubling down on the bug spray. Amber just found a couple ticks crawling on her after we stopped to pee. Yeah, I'm thinking this one got torn down, but I still like seeing these old sites. Here it is. God, this one's been gone for a long time.
He's already getting really cold.
I know. Good thing we've got better wood tonight and it's not all soggy wet. It appears we've hit something sharp. It's basically flat, and I just turned on the screen. It says it has 4 psi. Now we do have a spare, and I even brought my impact. Oh no, I can hear it. Just go real slow and I'll tell you when to stop. Found it, stop. We can plug it. I don't see nothing in there, but it's right there. It got punctured right there.
Probably those baby trees that you ran over.
Good thing I got plugs and I got an air compressor, so we should be alright. Frickin' side quest. It went in so easy. I'm afraid that once we start driving, it's just gonna push itself into the tire. Oh yeah, see, when I push it, it still leaks. I wonder if I could thread 2 through here right now and let that one fall through and push 2 in at once. I don't know, you got fingernails, maybe you can pull it through. I can't get it. That's as far as I can push it through, and I can't get it.
Really?
Teamwork makes the dream work.
I'll take teamwork to pop the tire on it.
Listen. All because I had to take a shit and we pulled off into a sketchy side trail, and I think it happened here, but that was leaking so fast I don't think we would have made it here from where we stopped.
Yeah.
That was like a
So
while
it's
ago.
your high tower vaccination that did it.
Oh,
That went all the way in too, didn't it?
I stopped a little short. I think we're good. Alright, let's turn this back on. Take 20 minutes to get it up to 25 psi.
And we thought we'd be setting up camp in daylight.
Well, we probably would have. Well, we're back on the move. Gonna catch that trail. And these new cars just make it so easy to monitor this stuff. But that little side quest plus fixing the tire cost us, what, 40 minutes probably?
Oh, at least.
And it is 6:28 right now, and we still have at least 20 miles. So I did exactly 0 planning for this trip because that's how I roll. And I didn't even download this GPX file until we were on our way out the door. What I'm getting at is I did not review, you know, areas we could camp and whatnot. And as we get closer to the lake, we have exited Forest Service. There's like some Indian reservation land up here and something county land. I don't know if we can disperse camp on it or not. We're getting pretty close. We're probably just a couple miles from Lake Superior. There is this Sisquit Lake, and it does say there's a campground there. Point being, we're trying to just make it to the end, but I think we're gonna just peel off here and scope out this campground real quick just so we know if it's even worth coming back to. We got some porta shitters at least, no shower. Honor box. I'm guessing we can drive back there to a picnic table. Got a nice lake.
Fire rings.
And some fire rings, so I don't hate it, but more importantly, we got some shelter from that wind. Let's finish this trail. Way over there, you can just start to see the Lake Superior. Well, we're almost there, but then we still gotta go another 10 or so miles to the finish line. We're getting there. Well, we made it. 100 foot that way. There's a campground. It goes back over there. But I think I've seen people camp here before. We found a little path, so maybe we can get down. Well, I guess if you want to get down there, get down there. Somebody's got a rope tied so you can pull yourself up. I might do it. I don't want to walk up there, but it's so much splashing going on. Boy, oh boy, that is some freaking wind. Whew. Should I risk it for the biscuit? It keeps splashing up there, but I kind of want to go around. I'm trying to figure out what this was just laying here. I thought it looked kind of weird. It's a geocache. There's some trinkets in there, a fishing lure, and a logbook. I did geocaching for all of about a week, about 10 years ago. I'll put it back.
That's not good.
Yeah, you about got it.
Oh, I got it.
Oh, is that the way up with the rope?
Yep.
Yeah, you going for it?
Yep.
We gotta go find somewhere to camp before it gets dark. We got Billy Goat here going up the hard way. Beautiful up here.
Cold though.
Yeah, it's cold. My hands are going numb. Yeah, it's 43 and like 30 mile an hour wind. Well, that's it. We have just conquered the t.w.a.t. We've conquered the t.w.a.t, baby. No, we haven't? Those don't count. Wait, hold on, was the section we missed right at the top?
The middle.
So there is a campground right there, and it looked decent enough, but we're gonna try to get back inland a little bit because that wind is just coming right off the lake. It's so cold. Plus they didn't have fire rings there, which is like, we're gonna have a fire. Gotta stay warm. Guessing it's gonna be dark by the time we get back. Plus this one said pay at the front desk of some casino and resort, and this is a reservation. So then we'd have to drive out and find, they didn't have a pay box, and it's just like, we'll go find something else. So since we left the house, we've been driving for 22 hours and 25 minutes. But as of right now, we are 8 hours and 4 minutes from home. Go overlanding and you too can take 22 and a half hours to drive 8 hours. Well, other than being dark, we came back to this camp. We tried a couple other places and they didn't pan out. So we got a great view of the lake that you can't really see. And there's free firewood right there, although it's mostly twigs. Get some lights going and get this party going. Alright, we got corn on the cob. We got one pretty good sized steak and 2 little 5-ounce pork chops. So we're gonna cut that in half, and we each get a little bit of steak and a little bit of pork and a little bit of corn and a little bit of beer. Oh, you can't even see it. I promise it's so good looking.
Oh, you got those color changing things?
Yeah, I got one.
You know, I don't hate this little campground for being what it is. It says 8, but there's really only 6 spots here. It was $20, but whatever. It was way too late to be trying to find dispersed camp. And nobody was here anyway. It would be a nice place to actually camp for a couple of days with this lake here too.
So to finish that story I said I'd tell you later, we weren't even supposed to be here. We took this week off of work to head out to Moab, and then as we got closer to the date, a non-negotiable meeting, let's call it, came up on the Wednesday, right in the middle of the week. So there was no way we could go to Moab, so we decided to take this little mini trip, went home for a day or two, and then we went back up to Wisconsin for the memorial run at Dresser, which I posted those videos months ago. So that's how this whole thing ended up being kind of on a whim.
Just about got everything put away and ready to go. And then we start the 8-hour drive home. It's almost 9:30, which is when I said we needed to leave by. I don't know if we're going to have time to go explore that section that we missed when the bridge was closed. If we do, we'll check it out. But anyway, thank you guys for coming along as always. It's been a rough period lately, but I still wanted to bring you guys along. We'll see you next time.